I know I mentioned in the last video that I didn't think Kale getting chosen for this was realistic, but I decided to explore this possibility just for fun. For this to be able to happen, it would have to be similar to my last video with Caulifla being chosen to be in the tournament. As mentioned in that video, all that needed to change was Champa asking Caulifla to be on her team instead of one of the usual fighters. The fighter I chose to drop from the team was Batamo, since his inclusion in the tournament just seemed to be there for a comedic bit and to introduce his ability to nullify damage. However, that ability could easily be introduced in the Tournament of Power, so he doesn't have to be chosen for the Tournament of Destroyers. Anyway, with Caulifla being asked to join the team for the tournament, she refuses to this time. Instead, she suggests that Kale should be on the team. In the manga, when Kaba had brought Kale along to join the Tournament of Power, Caulifla had asked him, anyways, why did you ask her to come too? Then after he responded, she said, Kale is indeed promising, but she's still got a long way to go. This time, Caulifla only suggested she should go since not only does she know about her high potential, but she wants this to be a sort of test of her power, as Kale's her protege. Regardless, before the tournament begins, Goku and Vegeta both would try to talk to Kaba and Kale. Like how she hid behind Caulifla in the original, she would shyly hide behind Kaba while they talk. Though Goku and Vegeta's conversation with Kaba would go the same as usual, with Vegeta and Kaba discussing Planet Sadala. After all, Vegeta would still be interested in going to Universe 6's version of Planet Sadala. The exam to see if they qualify for the tournament is given, but I don't see any reason that Kale wouldn't be able to pass this. Before getting into the tournament, as a brief side note, Caulifla would likely be there as a spectator so that she could see how her protege does in the tournament. Anyway, the first match for the tournament would be between Kale and Goku, since she took Matama's place. Goku would hold back at first so that he could test Kale's power. She would likely be timid in the beginning parts of their fight, so she wouldn't put up much of a fight. This would disappoint Caulifla, and she would be very verbal about her disappointment. This might serve as encouragement for Kale. After all, in the original during the Tournament of Power, Caulifla's thoughts and perception of Kale greatly influenced how well Kale did in her fights. So, after Caulifla expresses her disappointment with Kale's performance in her fight, this allows her to begin pushing Goku back. At this point, though, she would still be weaker than Goku, so this doesn't last for long. He would eventually transform into his Super Saiyan form just to show Kale this form. She would be completely outclassed in power because of this, but so she couldn't disappoint Caulifla, she continued to try her best. Though Caulifla's disappointment in Kale will likely continue to grow from seeing her getting beaten down again, even with her trying her best. Caulifla would also be amazed by the Super Saiyan form as well, so it piques her interest in Goku. When Kale notices Caulifla's disappointment in that she is paying more attention to Goku, it would anger her greatly. When she starts to get angry, bright green sparks would start to appear in the air around her. The angrier she got, the more her power would begin to grow, and everyone else wouldn't exactly know what was happening to her. Even Goku would likely stop to watch what is going on, since he wouldn't know what is going on either. She would begin to rise into the air while a yellow aura appeared around her. Lightning would start striking around her while the ground began to crumble at her feet. Eventually, she'd be enveloped with an enormous flash of green light, making it impossible for the others to see her. After the light fades away, it would be revealed that she has grown larger in size, more muscular, and her hair was now spikier and green in color. Goku and Vegeta wouldn't recognize this form, but regardless, she is now in the legendary Super Saiyan form. She wouldn't give time for Goku to react, as she would charge him right away. Since he is still in his regular Super Saiyan form, he would be getting pummeled by her. He wouldn't stand a chance against her in this form, but whenever he gets a chance, he turns into his Super Saiyan Blue form. Normally, when he fought Kale in the Tournament of Power, she did batter him around while he was a Super Saiyan Blue, but he came out of it relatively unharmed. It was also likely he was suppressing himself at the time. Regardless, he would be weaker than he was during the Tournament of Power, but she would be weaker too since she hasn't trained in preparation for that tournament yet. So, while they both are weaker, I think their fight would generally go the same at first. With Goku suppressing himself, even when he uses Kamehameha at point blank range against her, she would come out of it with just slight damage. He might draw the fight out since he found it fun, but he would eventually stop suppressing himself. While it never explicitly said that their power is always growing like Broly's, I personally think it would be since they seem to be counterparts of each other. So, when Goku notices that her power is continuously rising, this is when he stops suppressing himself. He would knock her out of the ring, but that wouldn't stop her rampage. She would likely try to fly and attack whoever was nearest, but Caulifla would get in the way. Caulifla decided to try and snap Kale out of this, so she could tell her rampage could be a danger to everyone there. So, she would fly in front of Kale and try to talk to her, which, if anyone could snap her out of this, it would be Caulifla. After all, she managed to do so in the original, so there isn't any reason she couldn't do that here. Like how she had to tell Kale that she wasn't interested in Kaba, after she realizes what made Kale mad. She would likely have to say similar things about not being interested in Goku along with mentioning how she is proud of her. Once Kale reverts to her base form, Goku would approach her and congratulate her on the great fight. He might even give her advice on how to get her anger under control, since even if he never had anger issues, he did have to learn how to harness his anger when he first became a Super Saiyan. He might suggest that he can help her with this sometime after this tournament ends. Caulifla might butt in and demand that he teaches her how to become a Super Saiyan like him and Kale, and he'd likely agree to this as well. So, with Goku offering to help Kale get better control of her anger and with him offering to help Caulifla become a Super Saiyan, this could start a student-teacher relationship between them. The rest of the tournament would generally go the same, with just some minor changes. Like in my Caulifla video, she would become interested in Vegeta when he becomes a Super Saiyan as well. She would also feel like the odd one out after Kappa becomes a Super Saiyan, so she was the only one who didn't transform yet. However, she would also have noticed that all the Super Saiyan forms she had seen so far were nothing like Kale's, so she would begin to realize that her protege likely has more potential than she initially thought. By the end of the tournament, she likely still sets her goals achieving something as strong as Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken. She would also still try to approach Goku after the tournament is over to get him to train her to become a Super Saiyan, though he wouldn't be able to, as they are interrupted by the arrival of the Omni King. Without them having been able to train her, when they return to Universe 6, she likely hunts down Kappa so that she can train with him. She would also drag Kale along so that they could try training Kale to get control of her form. Through the months of training with Kappa, Caulifla would eventually unlock the Super Saiyan form. She'll likely achieve it through the anger of being behind Kappa, Goku, Vegeta, and even her protege, Kale, since they all can become a Super Saiyan while she can't, once she eventually unlocks it, and most through her training in preparation for the Tournament of Power, she would be able to unlock her Ultra Super Saiyan form. As for Kale, while it would be a long and difficult process, with the help of Caulifla and Kappa, she should be able to unlock the controlled version of her legendary Super Saiyan form when the Tournament of Power eventually begins. There are some minor changes in it, too. After showing off her Ultra Super Saiyan form, Caulifla would likely achieve Super Saiyan 2 for the first time with Goku's guidance on how to achieve this form. Kale might achieve this form with his guidance as well, especially after she shows off her controlled legendary Super Saiyan form to him throughout the tournament. After they achieve these forms, they both would continue to work on harnessing the power of their Super Saiyan 2 forms. Also, with Kale having already gained control over her legendary Super Saiyan form by the time the Tournament of Power began, she wouldn't slip into her uncontrolled form in the tournament. Other than that, the only other change within the tournament would be a minor change during Vitamo's fight with Gohan. Since he wasn't in the Tournament of Destroyers, this would be his first appearance, but he still loses to Gohan. Regardless, this would be the end of this timeline, since the Universe 6 Saiyans have yet to appear again after the Tournament of Power.